and gentlemen, welcome to Wrestlemania.
Nobody knew exactly what to expect on March 31st, 1985. On this night, the industry stopped and held its collective breath. Would WrestleMania live up to the hype? Would sports entertainment, the flawless mixing of WWE superstars with other celebrities from music, film, and sport, prove to be a hit with the fans? Every man and woman who laced up a pair of boots that night was taking a leap of faith, knowing that they would sink or swim as the event did. With over 19,000 people in the legendary New York arena that night, this would be the most important night in the history of WWE. Lucky for all of us, it was a success, and it formed the foundation for what is without a doubt the quintessential event of the year in sports entertainment. It has constantly grown, pushing the industry to the limits with every blockbuster encounter, every record broken, and then broken again. It's a destination, a fuel for the dreams that burn in those who hope to one day compete. Entire streaks have been built simply based on the results from that one event. Year after year, a simple point to a sign informs everyone that you're being challenged. Winning's always sweet. Winning a WWE championship is even sweeter. But for some reason, nothing can compare to standing tall on the grandest stage of them all. A Sunday night gathering at the arena has, over time, transformed into the monster two-day extravaganza that fills mammoth stadiums with people traveling from all over the world to be there. At WrestleMania, one will experience the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, all done in the name of chasing glory. I'm Corey Graves, and I'd like to welcome you to the WWE 2K24 showcase of the Immortals. Here, we will spotlight some of the biggest, craziest, most jaw-dropping, action-packed matches in WWE history. It'll be on you to retrace the historical footsteps by way of our showcase objectives and lead these titans of industry to victory. This year, as WrestleMania turns 40, let's look back at the journey to get here together and relive some of the most memorable moments from WrestleMania's past. The first WrestleMania set the stage for everything that was to follow.
All the way around the world. Now you know what it's all about, brother.
Celebrities were out in full force, showing that this was the place to be. WrestleMania 2 pushed the boundaries, taking place in 3 different locations: New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles, delivering 3 huge main events. But it would be WrestleMania 3 in 1987 that truly displayed WrestleMania's full potential. And for our first match of the 2K24 Showcase of the Immortals, we go into the first verified WrestleMania Classic, the legendary clash for the WWE Intercontinental Championship between champion, the Macho Man Randy Savage, and his challenger, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Intercontinental champion since February of 1986, Savage tore through anyone who challenged him. That included a successful defense against George the Animal Steele at WrestleMania 2. A clash between Savage and Steamboat during a late 1986 edition of Superstars would see the Macho Man retain via countout, but that wasn't good enough. He would launch a vicious attack on the Dragon after the match, taking him out of action. Savage would attempt to duplicate the attack on Steamboat's friend and former opponent George Steele during the first Saturday night's main event of 1987. Fortunately for the Animal, Ricky would make his well-timed return for the save, leading to the rematch between the two at WrestleMania. What transpired between the two combatants can only be described as art. A fast-paced, high-action classic unfolded in front of 90,000 plus in attendance, with both men coming so very close to victory on a number of occasions. Would Savage be able to turn back the challenge of his angry opponent? Would Ricky Steamboat get revenge? These questions would be answered over the next 15 grueling minutes, and when it was over, everyone in attendance and those watching at home knew they had been a part of something special. The two superstars would forever be etched in history following the match, with Ricky Steamboat finally putting an end to the Macho Man's historic reign. The clash between the Dragon and the Macho Man was a jaw-dropping battle between two of WWE's technical masters, an instant classic by all measures. But when the dust had settled and after the smoke had cleared, After Steamboat was carted off proudly holding his Intercontinental Championship above his head, the realization set in. We still have Hulk Hogan against Andre the Giant. Featuring two of WWE's biggest stars at the time, this was the headliner that brought those 90,000 people together in the first place.
Everybody has their best day at WrestleMania. That's the creme de la creme. WrestleMania, main event, there's nothing else in this world like it.
Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant were great friends for years. Andre famously poured the bubbly all over Hogan when he captured the WWE Championship in January of 1984, and the two were nearly inseparable from then on. The two would be presented with trophies in separate weeks. Hogan was given one for reigning as champion for 3 years, while Andre received one for going 15 years without losing. For both ceremonies, Andre was not his usual self, first noting to Hogan that 3 years to be a champion, it's a long time, and ultimately walking out of his own trophy celebration when Hogan arrived to praise Andre's accomplishments. The world was on edge, waiting to see what comes next. Soon after, Andre would appear with Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Wait, what's going on here? Hold on, man. What are you doing with him?
Heenan had gotten to Andre, fanning the flames of resentment that burned inside.
Did you ever once in your life offer him a championship match?
A heartbroken Hogan tried to reason with his friend, but with one move, yanking Hogan's chain from his neck, it was clear there was no turning back.
There's nothing else like getting in the ring with Andre the Giant. It is the great unknown. When you get there and you're with Andre the Giant, you're outmatched, you're outsized, you're outpowered. It's an uphill battle, so you have to fight from underneath. You have to have everything in sync, body, mind, and soul, to survive fighting an opponent like Andre the Giant. When I slammed Andre the Giant, I was surprised how the crowd reacted. 94,000 people lost their breath and gasped at the same time. It overwhelmed me in the ring. It's etched in stone. It's just overwhelming how many people every day approach me and talk about WrestleMania 3.
Now it's up to you to do the impossible and defeat Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3. It truly is the irresistible force meeting the immovable object. And WrestleMania 3 ends with real American blasting, a Hulk Hogan pose down, and Andre the Giant and Bobby Heenan stunned in their failure. One of the most important matches not only in WrestleMania history, but WWE history itself. Up next, we jump ahead to WrestleMania 5 in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Those with tickets didn't know it as they entered the venue that evening, but they were about to witness one of WrestleMania's biggest upsets take place right in front of their eyes. The Ultimate Warrior captured the WWE Intercontinental Championship at the inaugural SummerSlam in 1988 by blitzing the Honky Tonk Man, ending his record reign in a little over 30 seconds. Since then, he seemed unstoppable, a lock to become WWE Champion one day. Two people who were not impressed were ravishing Rick Rude and his manager Bobby the Brain Heenan. The 1987 Slammy Award winner for Best Body felt that Warrior was nothing special, both in-ring and even in terms of physique. This led to Rude challenging Warrior to a super pose down at the 1989 Royal Rumble, where the winner would be decided by the WWE Universe's approval. Pretty quickly, it was clear that the Ultimate Warrior was going to be crowned the people's choice, and Rude was livid. He'd launch a vicious attack, bringing the competition to an abrupt end. That would lead to the signing of the contract for the two to compete in the Intercontinental Championship match at WrestleMania 5, and the world felt that Warrior would destroy his brash challenger. But Heenan and Rude were more than prepared for the champion. Heenan was desperate to have WWE Gold in his vaunted Heenan family ranks, and he knew that the Ravishing One was the right man for the job. They told anyone who'd listened that Rude was going to beat the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania, and now the time had come. Had they backed Warrior into a corner, or were they about to realize they'd bitten off far more than they could chew? That's a question only you can answer. An arena left completely shocked as ravishing Rick Rude pins the Ultimate Warrior to win the WWE Intercontinental Championship, with a little assist from his manager, The Brain. Hey, if the ref doesn't see it, he can't call it. Those are the breaks. With the crowd buzzing from the monumental upset, it was time for WrestleMania 5 to deliver its main event. The Macho Man Randy Savage defending the WWE Championship against his former best friend and Mega Powers partner, Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, the Macho Man Randy Savage. Dig it. He was one of a kind. He was intense. He was a great athlete. Everything about him was 100% perfect for sports entertainment and professional wrestling.
While the split of the Mega Powers was made official on a February 1989 edition of the main event, the cracks had been obvious to many long before that fateful night. Hogan and Savage's friendship had been beneficial to both, which was never more evident than the year prior at WrestleMania 4. On this evening, the vacant WWE Championship was to be decided in a 16-man, one-night tournament. In an absolutely brilliant display of athleticism and heart, the Macho Man would compete in 4 different matches to claim the championship. But it was in the final against the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase that Savage would run into seemingly more trouble than he could handle. In DiBiase's corner was Andre the Giant. Throughout the match, Andre interjected, bringing Savage's offense to a halt, or distracting him for attacks by DiBiase. Eventually, Miss Elizabeth would run into the back, bringing Hogan out to restore some order. And Hogan's presence led to Savage's win with a perfectly timed chair shot that the ref didn't catch. Like I said before, those are the breaks. The Mega Powers would be locked in a heated rivalry with Andre and DiBiase, now known as the Mega Bucks, that culminated with their victory at the very first SummerSlam. Around this time, though, it appeared Randy Savage was jealous of the closeness between Hogan and Elizabeth. Some on commentary would mention it, but many were quick to dismiss that there was any tension between the two. Things got worse at the 1989 Royal Rumble when Hogan eliminated Savage, some claim accidentally, which infuriated the Macho Man. Everything came to a head at the main event 2 on February 3rd, 1989. The Mega Powers would compete in tag team action, looking to show the bond was still strong. After Miss Elizabeth was caught up in the action, Hogan would take her to the back for medical attention, leaving the Macho Man alone. Upon his return to the match, Hogan would extend a hand to tag in, but would instead be slapped in the face by an enraged Randy Savage. A post-match altercation in the locker room would make it official. The Mega Powers were dead, and a clash was inevitable. Soon after, Hogan would lay down the challenge for WrestleMania 5. In a final twist, Miss Elizabeth would side with neither man, insisting that she'd be ringside in a neutral corner instead, offering to help either if they needed it. We were able to sit down with Hulk Hogan to talk about the night the Mega Powers exploded.
The lines were so blurry between reality and what we were trying to accomplish. He was madly in love with his wife, Elizabeth, for real. He was madly jealous for real. Leading up to it, you know, when she was managing him or managing me, or couldn't depend on who she was going to manage, it made him crazy. I just didn't know what type of abuse I was in for, so it was a little nuts. He was there to go, and he pushed the gas pedal down really hard on me in that match. Once you became a Macho Man fan, that was the only thing you could think about. His look, just the way he carried himself. I had nothing but respect for him.
It's always so great to hear from the legends themselves when it comes to these unforgettable WrestleMania moments and matches. Thanks again to Hulk Hogan for his time. Now, let's get you into the middle of an intensely heated WWE Championship match where the world would watch the Mega Powers explode. The sports entertainment world could only brace for impact as Savage and Hogan battled, and when it was over, a common WrestleMania sight was seen. Hulk Hogan celebrating in the ring with the WWE Championship back in his possession. And as the 1980s gave way to the 90s, around the world there was a real sense of looking for the next big thing. The newest, the coolest, the fastest, the strongest, anything to show where the future was. This was also the case in WWE. Amongst the members of the WWE Universe, many saw the Ultimate Warrior as the heir apparent to the throne that Hulk Hogan had occupied for 6 years. The untamed superstar appeared capable of matching Hogan's strength and had dominated all other opponents. Even that loss we relived at WrestleMania 5 against Rick Rude, yeah, he avenged that just a few months later at SummerSlam, regaining the Intercontinental Championship in the process. But this talk all seemed like fantasy, only existing as a dream match. Hogan and Warrior weren't enemies, and for either of them to turn against the other would run against the strict codes of honor to which both men claimed to adhere. All of that changed in the 1990 Royal Rumble match. It was brief, but for a moment the only two men in the ring were, you guessed it, Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior. The crowd went nuts, and these two stared at each other for a minute before circling up. Two running tackles led nowhere. and then a double clothesline floored both men, ending things before they could really get started between the two. That small taste, though, was all the world of sports entertainment needed to know that they wanted more. Even more interesting, it would be Hulk Hogan who would challenge the Ultimate Warrior to a contest at WrestleMania 6.
Ultimate Warrior, me and my Hulkamaniacs put the championship on the line.
Hogan openly stated that he needed to know which power was truly the strongest in WWE, his or that of the Warrior. Adding to the stakes was the stipulation that both the WWE and Intercontinental Championships would be up for grabs, leaving the winner with supreme claim to lead WWE into the next decade. All right, now it's your turn to try and shock all the little Hulkamaniacs out there and try to beat Hogan at WrestleMania 6. Can you harness the power of the Ultimate Warrior? There's only one way to find out. An incredible victory for the Ultimate Warrior there, becoming the first superstar to hold the WWE and Intercontinental Championships at the same time. A truly historic feat on the grandest stage of them all. A victory that signaled a new wave of change that was about to hit all of WWE. Rowdy Roddy Piper managed to change his luck in WWE when he captured his first championship in the company at the 1992 Royal Rumble. The wrestling world rejoiced for Hot Rod as the fiery superstar showed true emotion in the moment, revealing how much it meant to him. Once the most reviled man on the roster, he was now appreciated for his authenticity. Everyone was happy for him, except for one guy. Bret the Hitman Hart had changed his status in WWE in the spring and summer of 1991. When his legendary Hart Foundation amicably split the team, Bret would use the opportunity to springboard up the singles rankings, winning the Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam that year. Wanting to be an active champion, Bret faced off against all comers, finding victory each time out. Until a few nights prior to the 1992 Royal Rumble, when Hart lost the Intercontinental Championship. And before he could get a rematch, Piper had swooped in and won the thing. The last thing the Hitman wanted to do was ruin Roddy Piper's moment. The two were close. Piper had trained in the family dungeon and spoke glowingly of not only Bret, but his entire family.
I gotta tell you how much I love your family. I gotta tell you how much I love your mom. I knowed you, I know this guy since he's been knee-high to a grasshopper.
Respectfully, the two agreed to compete at WrestleMania 8, which would emanate from Indianapolis, Indiana. But Piper understood that many felt Bret lost that title at less than 100%, and that he'd have to defeat Hart in the ring to get those people on his side. And while both men claimed they'd keep it respectful, most everyone understood what happens when you push Roddy Piper to the edge. And trying to take something from Roddy Piper is one way to do it, especially when it's the first title he ever held in WWE. And so it was Bret Hart's technical mastery against Roddy Piper's street fighting in an unheralded classic was produced by two absolute masters of their craft. And while they both tried to keep it friendly, you just knew it wasn't gonna last. Nearly 20 furious minutes of action unfolded between the two, each with near victories along the way. Blood, sweat, and tears was never more appropriate. The two gave their all on the goal of earning the WWE Intercontinental Championship. So, get in there and do your best to beat Roddy Piper to the punch. But beating Hot Rod is no easy task, even if you are the best there is, the best there was, or the best there ever will be. A somewhat forgotten classic sees the excellence of execution using every last trick in his repertoire to pull out the victory over Roddy Piper. And WrestleMania 8 sees a rare pinfall loss for Hot Rod, but an even rarer display of professionalism from him makes the moment all the more memorable. Up next on this WrestleMania train down memory lane, we go to WrestleMania 10 in New York City, and the first ladder match to ever take place at WrestleMania. Shawn Michaels captured his first Intercontinental Championship with a big win over the British Bulldog on Saturday night's main event in the fall of 1992. But in the fall of 1993, Michaels would be stripped of the championship due to inactivity. As the Heartbreak Kid watched from the sidelines, Razor Ramon would capture the vacant championship. At the 1993 Survivor Series, Michaels would announce that he was back, and that he only had one mission: to humiliate Razor Ramon, who he considered to be a fake champion. Having never been defeated in the ring, HBK still believed he was the rightful Intercontinental Champion.
There is only one
undisputed Intercontinental Champion, and it is the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels.
Never one to back down from a fight, Ramon was more than ready to face Michaels anytime, any place. But Shawn wanted to play games with the bad guy, interfering in his matches and even performing Ramon's vaunted Razor's Edge finisher to taunt him. Shawn was also very open about relying on his 7-foot monster of a bodyguard, Diesel, to help him get through any tough situations. WWE officials, forced with figuring out how to decide who the true Intercontinental Champion was, came to a decision. Both championship titles would be suspended above the ring in a ladder match. The winner would be the first superstar able to incapacitate their opponent long enough to climb the ladder, grab both championships, and finally settle the issue once and for all. This matchup would see both men use everything they could to stop the other, including the ladder repeatedly. It was used as a battering ram, even as a perch from which to dive for a huge splash. Both Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels laid it all on the line in this epic clash, leaving everyone breathless with each new flurry of offense. So, you're gonna have to do your best to deal with not only a Mr. Wrestlemania who wants his Intercontinental Championship, but also with the menacing Diesel at ringside. Stay focused, and maybe you'll be oozing enough machismo to climb that ladder of success. One of WrestleMania's greatest collisions comes to its scintillating conclusion with Razor Ramon just managing to outlast Shawn Michaels, claiming possession of the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania 10. The ladder match would open the door for future classics, like the TLC and Money in the Bank matches as well, forever sealing its place in WrestleMania lore. Our next match is another legendary moment that will live forever, as we head to WrestleMania 13. Rosemont, Illinois would play host to the most important night on the sports entertainment calendar. And on this night, a match that is the literal definition of an all-time classic unfolded. Bret Hart had been the face of WWE's new generation for years, proudly defending the WWE Championship against all comers and defending WWE's honor against its most heinous villains. After losing the WWE Championship to Shawn Michaels in WrestleMania 12's Iron Man match, the Hitman took some time off to consider his future options. When he returned, roughly 6 months later, there were drastic changes to the landscape of WWE's universe. Top among those was the rise of Stone Cold Steve Austin. The man who started the year off as Ted DiBiase's ringmaster would find freedom in his true identity, dropping his manager and finding superstardom in the wake of his 1996 King of the Ring tournament victory.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
WWE was trying to find its attitude, but the seeds of change were being planted in the fans who had rallied around Austin. His no-nonsense attitude had made him the ultimate anti-hero. This acceptance of someone who flaunted his breaking of the rules didn't sit right with the Hitman. When Bret made his return, he immediately challenged Austin, who was more than ready to answer the call. The two battled at 1996's Survivor Series, where Hart won in a masterful performance of a feverish back-and-forth battle. The loss only made Austin angrier, creating a single focus for him: to ruin Bret Hart's career. He'd eliminate Hart from the 1997 Royal Rumble match after officials missed Hart first eliminate Austin. The night after Hart captured the WWE Championship at Final Four, Austin would interfere in Hart's first defense on Raw, ending the reign before it could even get started. WWE officials would pit the rivals against each other in a no disqualification submission match. The loser would be forced to admit they were defeated by the better combatant. To make sure that order would be maintained, a special referee was assigned: the world's most dangerous man and former MMA champion, Ken Shamrock. And while Hart had the edge in submission wrestling, Austin was no slouch in that department. And he also had one other thing going for him: his promise to the world that he would never in a million years give up. Once the match started, these two unleashed months of hatred on one another. We were lucky enough to talk to the Rattlesnake himself, Stone Cold Steve Austin, to get his thoughts on this classic encounter.
A lot of people think that the WrestleMania 13 match between myself and Bret the Hitman Hart is one of the best of all time. Certainly one of the best in all of WrestleMania. To me, it's a very special match because everything happened so magically, and specifically WrestleMania 13 cemented the legacy of who and what Stone Cold Steve Austin was. From start to finish, we started it off, we brawled out, we came back into the ring, we brought various factors from around the ring into the ring to use against each other. Some of the stuff backfired on me. It was full of chills, thrills, and spills. I gotta call a spade a spade. I mean, it is my favorite all-time match, and I've been to some classics.
Always an honor to get to pick the brain of one of WWE's top-level legends. Thank you again to Stone Cold for talking with us about WrestleMania 13. Now it's on you to try and find a way to take out WWE's toughest SOB. Remember, there are no disqualifications, so use whatever you can, and maybe you'll find a way to get him to surrender. I just wouldn't recommend messing with the referee. Shamrock's ankle lock is nasty. Despite being victorious, Bret Hart's post-match attack on Steve Austin only served to galvanize the fans into fully supporting Stone Cold. And Austin, even in defeat, would only increase his reputation by living up to his word, refusing to surrender in the match. Steve Austin fighting the sharpshooter with everything he has remains an enduring WrestleMania moment in a career filled with them. 4 years later, Austin found himself in a very different position in WWE. Taken out in a heinous attack at the 1999 Survivor Series, Austin would be out for nearly a year before returning at No Mercy in 2000. Austin would first look to exact revenge on those who took him out, Rikishi and Triple H, before setting his sights on regaining the WWE Championship. Stone Cold would then head to the 2001 Royal Rumble, entering at number 27. Before he could enter the ring, he'd again be attacked by Triple H, looking to avenge Austin's interference earlier in the night. Austin was in bad shape, but somehow managed to emerge victorious, securing his opportunity to compete for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 17. Defending against Austin would be The Rock, Austin's main rival for years. The two legends personify the Attitude Era, and had previously met for the WWE Championship in the main event of WrestleMania 15. That night, Stone Cold managed to defeat the corporate champ to regain the championship. On that same night that Rock captured the WWE Championship at No Way Out 2001, Austin would face Triple H in a 3 stages of hell match. Each fall would be held under different rules: a standard match, a street fight, and then a steel cage if necessary. While Austin took the early lead in winning the first fall, he'd lose the next 2 in a heartbreaker to Triple H. The loss shook Austin, who felt the wave of momentum he was riding should have been unstoppable. Heading into WrestleMania, Austin would speak openly about how he didn't just want the win, but that he needed it.
I need to beat you, Rock. I need it more than anything that you can ever imagine.
When you headline an event, you've got to be on top of your game, be in the best of your game to put on a show and to warrant that main event status.
Austin was going to do everything he could to guarantee the nearly 68,000 attending in his home state of Texas would not be disappointed. The People's Champ had other ideas. He had worked hard while Austin was out to establish himself as the man in WWE, and the opportunity to prove his status with this WrestleMania rematch had the Brahma Bull almost bursting at the seams. If anything was for sure, it was that The Rock would do one thing, and one thing only.
Just bring it!
He'd been through the battles, he'd come into his own, nothing was handed to him, he earned it all, and he turned himself into the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. At no point in time in wrestling history were 2 stars, 2 wrestlers, as hot as both I was and The Rock was. It's hard to explain why we're such good opponents. We just were.
So now it's time for you to head into one of the biggest WrestleManias of all time, WrestleMania 17 in 2001. A night that serves as the pinnacle of the Attitude Era's excellence, with its 2 biggest names doing battle once again. Are you ready to open up a can on The Rock? Or will you find out that going one-on-one with the Great One isn't the electrifying opportunity it appears to be? One of the most stunning endings in WrestleMania history sees Stone Cold Steve Austin align with Mr. McMahon to regain the WWE Championship. WrestleMania 17 was in many ways the last stand for WWE's Attitude Era. Steve Austin and Triple H formed a 2-man power trip as an impending invasion from WCW and ECW would forever alter WWE. So much talent in one spot would lead to the brand split and a new era, one of ruthless aggression. And at WrestleMania 20, WWE returned to its roots in New York City. proudly featuring 2 ring generals competing for the WWE Championship, with Eddie Guerrero defending against Kurt Angle.